Okay, I have to admit, when you sent over this stack of documents for today's deep dive, I thought I was looking at a movie script,
Right.
but then I started reading the headers: operational files, psychological profiles, interrogation logs, and I realized, okay, we are dealing with something much more intense here.
It does have a cinematic quality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the point. We're looking at a conflict set in a world, very similar to ours, divided between two massive superpowers, the Eastern Bloc and the Western Alliance.
And we are not talking about trench warfare or missile silos today.
No, not at all. Today we're talking about a city,
Westboro.
Westboro,
Yeah.
the neutral city-state. Think of it as the eye of the hurricane. It's where the wealthy go to hide their money and where spies go to trade secrets over really expensive coffee.
It's a city of shadows.
Totally.
And sitting right in the middle of those shadows are the two subjects of these files. Two men who are on a collision course that, honestly, reading through this gave me anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
On one side, we have Ethan Cross. The files call him a chameleon.
Or a human mirror. That's the term that really stuck with me from the psychological profile.
Me too.
Ethan is an operative for the Eastern Bloc, but he's not a soldier. He's a psychological weapon. He doesn't just disguise himself. He, dismantles his own identity to become whatever his target needs him to be.
And then on the other side, we have Demian Aristid, codename Argus.
Uh-huh.
And if Ethan is a mirror, Demian is, well, he's a wall. A very expensive aristocratic wall.
A wall made of ice.
Yeah.
Demian is brilliant, wealthy, and, fundamentally broken in his own way. He believes emotion is an inefficiency.
He's trying to solve Ethan like a math problem.
Exactly. So you have the man who is everyone versus the man who is trying to be no one.
And today we are going to unpack exactly what happens when they meet. But before we get to the showdown in Westboro, we have to look at these origins files. Because Ethan Cross wasn't born, he was made. And the way he was made is disturbing.
It really is. We need to look at the file labeled Retraining Complex Number 7. This is where the deep dive gets dark, fast. This isn't spy school where you learn to pick locks. This is about the total erasure of the self.
The setting alone gives me the creeps. A sterile white room, no windows, just a barber chair and a mirror, and a man named Richard walks in.
Right. Richard. That was his name.
Yeah.
He enters that room as Richard, a man with a past, with memories. But the goal of Complex Number 7 isn't to train Richard.
It's to kill him.
It's to kill him. And it starts with something so mundane.
A haircut. I'm looking at the instructor's notes here, and the directive is incredibly specific. It says, cut must be negligent but aesthetic.
That's such a crucial detail. Think about what that signals. Negligent but aesthetic implies a specific type of person, an artist, an intellectual, someone who is, effortlessly beautiful.
The person he's about to become.
Exactly. By changing the hair, they are already forcing him to see a stranger in the mirror.
And then come the eyes. They fit him with amber-colored contact lenses.
To hide his natural gray eyes. Gray is cold, observant. Amber is. It's warm, it's inviting. They are literally painting over the windows to his soul.
But the physical transformation is just the setup. This is the part that I had to read twice.
The instructor.
An instructor named Kuru enters. The file describes him as having eyes like a bird of prey. And he just tells Richard, point blank, you died this morning.
A training accident.
Yeah.
That's the official story. But just saying the words isn't enough to break a person's identity. You need a totem. You need a physical anchor to the past to be destroyed.
And that's the gray folder. Kuro hands him this folder, and inside is, well, it's heartbreaking. It's a birth certificate and a single photo.
Describe the photo for us.
It's Richard as a 7-year-old boy. He's in an orphanage, standing against a gray wall. And the notes say this was the last time he was forced to smile.
Wow.
It's the only evidence that he was ever an innocent child.
And the command is to burn it.
Yeah. He has to throw it in a metal ashtray and light it on fire.
This is a technique known as forced dissociation. If you just tell someone forget your past, their brain fights it. But if you make them physically destroy the representation of their own inner child, you're inducing a trauma. You're creating a before and an after.
The file says he watched the face of the 7-year-old boy turn to ash. And in that moment, Richard is gone. He's hollowed out.
Exactly. He is now a void.
Yeah.
And a void needs to be filled. That is when Kuru hands him the beige folder, the script for his new life.
The Ethan Cross persona and the level of detail. It's not just you are an art historian.
No.
It's you drink espresso without sugar. You wear cashmere scarves. Your parents were dissident intellectuals who died in a car crash.
So why do you think they included that car crash detail?
I assumed it was just to give him a tragic backstory, make him sympathetic.
It's more calculated than that. A tragic backstory explains why he might seem a bit detached or melancholic. Gives him an excuse to be mysterious.
A cover story for his emptiness.
A perfect cover story. And the cashmere, the espresso, those are sensory details. They help ground the lie in physical reality.
So he studies this file for an hour, then he looks in the mirror, and the transition described here is almost like a possession.
It is.
He smiles, but it's described as a practiced velvet smile, and he introduces himself as Ethan Cross.
And the source notes a key shift here. He stops analyzing his reflection and starts admiring it. He has fallen in love with the mask.
And that's what makes him dangerous. He believes the lie, so you believe the lie.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we know how he was built. Now we need to see him in action. Because the dossier includes this case study from 7 years ago that shows exactly how this mirror technique works. The Brian O'Connell case.
This is the operational flashback. It took place in Fur Turd in the north.
Yeah.
Ethan was operating under the alias Brian.
And Brian is nothing like Ethan. Brian has dyed red hair, he's loud, he's this eccentric cultural attaché.
Right.
And his target is a journalist named Elin Lundgren.
Aylin is important here because she represents a very specific type of target. She's cynical, she's an investigative journalist, she hates authority. She's not someone you can just bribe.
So how does Brian get to her? He doesn't bribe her, he becomes her soulmate.
Precisely. He mirrors her worldview. The files mention they spent hours in art galleries. Aylin likes abstract expressionism art that is rebellious, chaotic. So suddenly, Brian is the only guy in the entire embassy who gets it.
He validates her rebellion.
Weaponized validation. It's the most potent drug there is. She lowers her guard because she thinks, finally, someone who sees me for who I really am.
But then, the switch. This is the moment that terrified me.
Oh, it's chilling.
They are at a party. Brian is holding Aylin's hand. They are looking out a window. And then Brian gets a signal from his handler. A new target has appeared.
Magnus Bergman, a defense ministry official, high value.
And the dossier says Brian leaves Aylin standing at the window. He doesn't make an excuse. He doesn't say goodbye.
Here's Mom
He
did.
just walks away.
He discards the rebellious soulmate persona instantly because it's no longer useful. You have to, boot up a new program for Magnus.
And Magnus is a totally different beast. He's in debt, his marriage is failing, and he has a preference for young, red-headed men. He's not a rebel. He's just a desperate, lonely man.
So watch what Ethan as Brian does. He approaches Magnus, who is staring at a painting. But it's not an abstract painting like Aylin liked.
No, it's a painting of a naval battle, a ship going down.
And Brian whispers to him, terrible tragedy, isn't it? They know they are doomed, but they keep fighting. It's so human.
It's masterclass manipulation. He reads Magnus's internal state, I am drowning, I am doomed, and he externalizes it. He offers Magnus empathy.
And Magnus just folds immediately.
Of course.
Because Brian is filling the specific shape of Magnus's loneliness. He went from being a rebel for Aylin to being a savior for Magnus in the span of 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That is the void. That is the mirror.
Which brings us to the present, Westboro, and the man who thinks he can stop this machine, Demian Aristid.
Demian is.
It's
He's a piece of work. He's part of the peace wing of the Western Alliance. But don't let that fool you. He's not a pacifist because he loves people.
No.
He's a pacifist because he thinks war is messy and illogical.
The profile emphasizes his background. Old money, aristocracy,
Yeah.
a computer genius. But the detail that made me laugh and also worry is his stance on smoking.
Oh, yes. Smoking is an emotional act.
What does that even mean?
To Demian, an addiction like smoking is a sign of weakness, a need for comfort. He rarely smokes because he refuses to need anything. He's built a fortress around his own psyche. He's the analyst. He observes, he dissects, but he never participates.
So Demian is tracking Ethan in Westboro, and he does something smart. He goes to find Aylin, the journalist from the Brian O'Connell case. She's in Westboro now.
And this meeting is crucial. Demian goes in thinking he can use standard spycraft leverage, blackmail. He wants to know Ethan's weakness.
And Aylin basically laughs in his face. It's tragic, really. She's still broken from 7 years ago. He tells him, you can't blackmail him. He has no self to leverage.
She calls him a void. And she gives Demian a warning that sets up the rest of the story. If he finds you, run. She knows that if Ethan finds a crack in your armor, he gets in.
The Demian doesn't run.
Yo.
He takes that as a challenge. He decides that if Ethan is a mirror looking for a reflection, Demian will give him nothing to reflect.
It's an incredibly dangerous gambit. Demian decides to use his own isolation, his own void, as the bait. He plans to just sit in Ethan's territory and be so cold, so unreadable, that Ethan will be forced to come to him just to solve the puzzle.
So let's get to the main event, the encounter file. We have a transcript of their first meeting at a bar in the artist's quarter of Westboro. This isn't a shootout, it's a conversation. But the subtext is just, it's violent.
It's a duel. Set the scene for us.
Okay, looking at the log, time, 11:42 p.m. Demian
Hello.
is at his usual table, corner, back to the wall. He's drinking, reading, and Ethan is there. The notes just describe Ethan as looking bored, eating peanuts.
Boredom is Ethan's camouflage here. He's waiting, and then he makes the first move.
He orders a whiskey for Demian, but he doesn't ask. He just tells the bartender, another one for the gentleman.
That is an aggressive act disguised as a gift. It signals, I am watching you. I know what you drink. I am in your space.
And look at Demian's reaction in the margin notes. Subject freezes. Micro-expression of irritation.
Demian hates that someone noticed him. He tries to brush it off, says, work, how very dull.
He's trying to play the disinterested aristocrat. But Ethan is a professional liar. He knows one when he sees one. He sits down.
And this is where the conversation turns into code. Yeah, they start talking about games. Demian accuses Ethan of playing games, and Ethan looks right at him and calls him a liar.
That liar accusation is the dagger. Ethan is telling Demian, you aren't bored, you are fascinated, you are hunting me, and I know it.
There's a specific exchange here on page 3 of the transcript that gave me chills.
Let's hear it.
Demian says, I don't let anyone influence me. He's trying to reassert his control, and Ethan just replies, but I already have. And he's right. The fact that Demian is sitting there, engaging, drinking the whiskey, he has already been influenced. The mirror has already caught his reflection.
And then Demian says, I'm only indulging your little game out of boredom, which we know is a total lie. The psychological profile says Demian is obsessed with Ethan.
And Ethan knows it's a lie. The notes say Ethan is smiling. He's enjoying this. Usually his targets are easy, like Magnus was an open wound, but Demian is a puzzle box, and Ethan loves a challenge.
The scene ends in a really interesting way. Ethan gets up to leave. He just drops a business card on the table.
A classic hook.
And Demian, the man who hates emotion, who trusts no one, he keeps the card. The log says he calls himself an idiot under his breath, but he puts the card in his pocket.
So why do you think he keeps it?
I think he's lonely.
That's the crack, isn't it? Demian Aristid tells himself he is an analyst, a machine of logic. But deep down, he is isolated. And here is Ethan, a man who is also isolated, also playing a role. I think Demian keeps the card because he recognizes a kindred spirit.
A very dangerous kindred spirit.
It's a trap. For both of them.
How so?
Well, for Demian, the danger is obvious. If he lets Ethan in, Ethan will dismantle him just like he did Magnus.
Yeah.
But for Ethan, this is risky too.
Because Demian isn't a normal target.
Exactly. Ethan is used to reflecting people's desires back at them. But Demian is trying to project nothing. If Ethan stares into a void for too long, what does he see? Does he see Demian? Or does he start to see the cracks in his own mask?
Does he start to see Richard again?
That's the question. That is the deep dive takeaway here. This isn't just a story about spying. It's about the fragility of the self. We all wear masks, right? You have a work self, a home self.
Sure.
I think Cross is just the extreme version of that. He is what happens when you adapt so much to manipulate others that you forget who you are. And Demian is the extreme version of protecting yourself, building walls so high that you forget how to be human.
It's weirdly relatable for a story about super spies.
Well, that's good fiction for you.
Mm.
It takes a human condition and just amplifies it.
So we leave them there, Ethan vanishing into the night in Westboro, and Demian sitting at that bar fingering a business card. The hunter and the hunted, but I'm not sure which is which anymore.
I don't think you know either. And that is the most dangerous position to be in.
Well, this has been a trip. I'm never going to look at a mirror or a barbershop the same way again.
Just, check your eyes in the mirror every now and then. Make sure they're still yours.
I will. Thanks for breaking this down with me.
Always a pleasure.
And for you listening, here is a final thought to mull over as you go about your day. In a world of total fabrication, where names, histories, and faces can be faked, is the only honest thing left the connection between two liars. And when you gaze into a mirror for too long, do you control the reflection, or does the reflection eventually start controlling you?
Something to think about.
We'll see you in the next Deep Dive.